Hey there, we're gonna be going over the the Monsters Genetics Lab today. This is gonna be a walkthrough on how to do the Monsters Genetic Lab. So it's in the week 30 folder, Monsters Genetics Lab. When you click on that, pull up, should look something like this. And here we are. So if you're doing this at home or in school, you need a coin. That's the most important thing you need. If you don't have one on hand, I have this little link here, and this will take you to Google's Flip a Coin page. And I go there. It'll flip a coin for you. And this is how you can generate heads and tails randomly, which is important for this assignment. So what you can do is flipping the coin will help you determine the genotype of the monster you're going to make. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a monster here. Then you're going to mate the monster with a random partner here. And then you're going to do the Punnett squares below to look at the offspring. So let's get started. So first of all, a genotype is the arrangement of alleles that determine the physical trait, which is called the phenotype. So you're going to be flipping for heads and tails for allele 1 and 2. So your first flip is going to be for the dominant allele. All right, so here are all the dominant alleles. So if you do the first flip and you get heads, you're going to write in the first letter there. If you get tails, you'll write in the letter in parentheses for every one of these. And you're going to flip 2 per trait to determine the genotype. So let me demonstrate. First, we're going to start with body shape. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this coin and see what I get. Flip. All right, I wound up with heads. So the heads genotype, the heads allele is a uppercase S. So I'm going to put that here because it's dominant. Next, I'm going to flip a second time for the second trait. All right, so I'm going to flip again. And I got heads a second time. So I'm going to give it a second capital S. So this is a homozygous dominant genotype. I have 2 uppercase S's. If that happens, you're going to have the dominant trait, which is square in my case. Oops, wrong button. So my phenotype, how the monster will look, is have a square body. I'll go ahead and repeat that for the second and third one. So I'm now flipping for eye color. I'm going to go ahead and flip it. I got tails. So that's a recessive allele. So I'm going to put a lowercase e, which is this one right here. If I get heads, I put this uppercase. If I get tails, I put the lowercase. You're going to flip it twice for each trait. So now I'm going to flip it a second time. I got heads. So that would be an uppercase E. This is a heterozygous. So since there is a dominant allele present, that means the dominant trait will be expressed. So my monster will have 2 small eyes. Go for curly. Tail shape. So for the tail, if I get a if I get a heads, it's going to be uppercase dominant C. If I get a tail, it's going to be a lowercase c. So let's do that again. I got heads. So uppercase C. Again. I got tails. So it's going to be a lowercase c. So it's heterozygous. That means it's going to have a curly tail. So if you go through and keep flipping, you can continue to get the rest of these traits. So flip it twice for the tail color, tail shape, whether it has one or not, purple, corn color, or the number of horns. Down here, what you're going to do is you're going to flip for the eye color. Now, this one's called co-dominance. It means that both dominant genes are shared. So you can go ahead and flip. If you get heads and tails, you're going to get a mix of red and blue, which is purple. If you get 2 recessive, you're going to have blue eyes. If you get 2 dominants, you're going to have red eyes. So this is going to be red, blue, or purple, depending on what it is. Please make sure you read what's in highlight down here. For the skin color, this is called an incomplete dominance. So if you get homozygous G, you're going to have a green monster. If you get homozygous blue, you're going to have a blue monster. But if you get a heterozygous pairing like I have here, your monster is going to be both green and blue. And then finally down here, this is the sex trait. So for this one, you already have an X allele. Everybody has an X. So you're going to flip a coin. If you get heads, it's going to be another X. If you get tails, it's going to be a Y in this box. That will make your genotype. Match your genotype to the pairing down here. If you wind up with XX, you have a female. If you wind up with XY, you have a male. Okay, so part 2, we're going to fill in this chart based on the stuff that's here. So the body shape has a genotype that's heterozygous. So I go up, I see that the square shape is dominant. Since it's heterozygous, the dominant trait's going to show out, and the body type is going to be square. All right, eyes. Have another heterozygous. So that means I'm going to have 2 small eyes. All right. Then for the phenotype, I have a straight tail, or the tail shape. So I'm going to go up to tail shape here, and I can see that the straight tail shape is recessive. It has the lowercase c. So the only way a recessive trait shows up is if you have it twice. So that means this one has to be lowercase c, lowercase c. So continue that. Go through for the genotype that's heterozygous, what phenotype shows up? If you have a no-tail phenotype, what genotype could you have? So now that you've made a monster and you found its mate, you're going to go ahead and you're going to do the Punnett squares for these animals. So here's how you do the Punnett squares for the animals. Down here, you're going to look at the body shape. Okay, so I have them listed here in each Punnett square for what I want you to find. So you're going to take the offspring from the monster you made, from the monster it mated with, and you're going to do a Punnett square with it. So my monster, so for example here, what % of the offspring will have a square body type? So my monster has a genotype of SS, so homozygous dominant with a square body type. The monster it's mating with, which is in table 5 right here, has a heterozygous body type, which also is square. So when I double click on this, I can edit the picture. And then inside each box, I'm going to put the correct genotype. So my monster had the genotype that was homozygous dominant. So I'm going to put capital S, lowercase, capital S, capital S. Monster it mated with from table 5 is heterozygous. So it was capital S, lowercase s. So now we do the cross. You get, in each box, you need 1 letter from the first mate's column, and you need one letter from the row. So for this one, it would be capital S from my monster, capital S from the mating monster. And then let's go down. So I'm going to get a capital S from my monster and a lowercase s from the monster it mated with here. Let's do this one. So I'll get a capital S from my monster and then another capital S from the mating monster. And do it again. Capital S from my monster and then a lowercase s from the mating monster. And hit save and close. So now you see a completed Punnett square. So I want to know what % of the offspring will have a square body type. So out of the 4, how many out of 4 will exhibit the square body type? Now, in order for the trait to show up, it has to be for a square body type, either heterozygous or homozygous dominant, because the square body type is the dominant gene. So anytime you see a capital S in an allele pairing, the genotype, you're going to have a square body. The only time it would have an oval body is if you had two recessive alleles, which would be lowercase s, lowercase s. So out of 4, capital S, right? This is homozygous dominant, and then this is homozygous dominant. So this one, anytime we see a capital S, we know it's going to be square. So we have 1, 2, 3 capital S's, 4 capital S's. So that means we have 4 dominant traits that are showing up here, and they're all paired with either another dominant or a recessive. So there is going to be 100% chance that it will be a square body. So that means no matter what, when these two mate, you're going to have a square body. All right, because you don't have any homozygous recessive allele pairings here. All right, let's do another one. Eyes. All right, so I'm going to go up to the top and look at my eye color. So my eye color, eye shape or size. So I have heterozygous. I have 1 dominant and 1 recessive allele. So I'm going to have two eyes. And then here, it's going to have the same thing, a heterozygous pairing for eyes. So it's going to have 2 small eyes because 2 eyes are dominant, 1 eye is recessive. So I'm going to come down here, double click. So my pairing was heterozygous. Eyes are E, E, E. And then its pairing was E, E. Okay, so let's go through and do the cross. We get 1 from my monster and then 1 from the mate monster. So it will be capital E, lowercase e. 1 from my monster is E. 1 from its monster is another E. 1 from my monster is a capital E. 1 from the mate would be another capital E. And then 1 from, in this last box, 1 from my monster, which is capital E. 1 from the mating monster, which is a lowercase e. So this is what it should look like. Hit save. All right. Now, again, let's count. So if the dominant trait is there, if there is a dominant allele, which is 2 eyes, capital E, in any box, that means it has a chance to show up there. It will show up there. So out of 4, how many boxes have a capital E in there? 1, 2, 3. And there is no capital E in this box. So a 3 out of 4 is a 75%. The only chance for it to have a 1 eye is right here. So that's 1 out of 4 will have 1 eye. So a 1 out of 4 is a 25%. So the percent that the offspring will only have 1 eye is 25%. And you're going to go through and you're going to do that with the rest of them. So you're going to do eye color, skin color, tail, horn color as well. All right, same process. You put your genotype from your monster in the top box here. You put the genotype which you got from table 5 in the mating monster here. You do the cross and then see what it asks for and how many boxes out of 4 will create that situation. And then that's how you find the percentage. Down here at the bottom, I want you to create a quick picture of your monster. Now, I did a demo. This is not what mine looks like, all right, would look like. But I just want to show you how simple it is to make it, okay? So, for example, my monster had a square body with 2 eyes. So if I want to, this is like all I'm looking for, all right? I do make a square shape, square, make a square body. It had 2 eyes, all right? Shapes, 2 small eyes. I put 1 here, and I can put a second one here. Okay, so again, this is not art class, so if it's not perfect, it's totally fine. To change the color of these things, you would click on them and go to the paint can, and then you can change the skin, and you can change the eye color if you would like as well by clicking on the object, clicking the paint can, and then selecting the color that you want. If you wanted to do a tail, you can click on this line. You can do scribble. I like scribble. Or you can do curve. So let's do scribble. All right, I'll click here and say he had a curly tail. I'll do curl, 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 curl. Done. Say the tail was blue. There. All right. And you're done. So like that's all I'm looking for, okay? So make sure your monster here has the traits that it coded for in part 1. So part 1 is your monster. You're recreating your monster from part 1 here and drawing it out, okay? Again, don't take this part too seriously. I'm going to check to see if, okay, his monster had 2 eyes, right? Does they have 2 eyes in the picture? Yes, good. Their body shape was square. It's square, good. It has a curly tail. All right, the tail looks kind of curly, good. That's all I'm going to be double checking back and forth, all right? And this is a graded part of the assignment, so don't skip it. All right, and then that is the end of the assignment. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me and let me know. Don't sit there and not do the assignment because you don't understand. Watch this video, rewind it, rewatch it, and try to get as much out of it as you can before you ask me for help. Okay, so if you have any questions, like I said, please reach out to me. Hope this video helped.